And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode 59. Wow, already closing in on 60 episodes. We're doing a string of sort of very interesting, charismatic Aerostars, and I think we have sort of one more left in this batch of just, really like showstoppers kind of, and we'll get to that. I guess right now. So, without further ado, here we have a 1996 Ford Aerostar XLT extended minivan, listed for $3,200 in Lexington, North Carolina. So right off the bat, we'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll do the description, but I gotta say, we've had two sort of Aerostars in the brown category. Of course, the 87 and the 94 that were sort of almost like twins of each other, but just in different sort of eras of the Aerostar. Now we have on the contrast, we have two Aerostars sort of in like the white category, and we had that wonderful 1997 cargo van. And this is a 1996 passenger van, and they're very sort of similar and different at the same time, just like the two brown Aerostars. So 97 and 96 are sort of the last 2 years, and also the 2 years after which the Aerostar, prior to which the Aerostar was never supposed to exist after, if that makes sense. So 95 was going to be the last year, and then it was extended for 2 more years, 96 and 97. So those 2 years are sort of interesting, and 97 obviously being the last year, 96 being the penultimate year, where the taillights were still the same, but it was the first year of sort of the epilogue years of the Aerostar. So I think that's interesting. Also, the cargo van was standard length, so you're getting your standard length van with your cargo doors. This is an extended length with your passenger rear liftgate. So just a nice little duality there, a nice little like dichotomy in comparison standpoint, from a comparison standpoint, excuse me. So let's get to the basics on this vehicle. 171,470 miles, automatic transmission. It is exterior white, interior tan, fuel type gasoline. 15 miles per gallon city, 21 highway, 17 combined. It's funny, every Aerostar is like a little different, and you would think that there's just like a factory or like an automated thing that comes when you put in whatever configuration of your Aerostar, but it's usually like 16, 17, sometimes 18. As we'll see in a second, this one actually has the 4-liter engine. So that would make sense why it's like a little bit lower, but then a lot of times when I've seen the 4.0, it's been like, 20 highway. So maybe you just do put in all your information. I don't know. Let's go to the description. 1996 Ford Aerostar extended minivan, 4.0 liter V6. Also a very cool thing to have because it's not a all-wheel drive. That would have, or four-wheel drive, that would have been an optioned, the upper tier option of the engine options. It's a lot of the word option and probably the wrong context or usage. Automatic transmission, 171,465 miles, XLT package with power windows, locks, mirrors, cruise control, etc. Everything on the van works, hot heat and cold AC. Local Triad, North Carolina van its whole life. Multiple sets of keys and original owner's manuals. I installed the Ranger wheels, brand new General Grabber AT miles that have about 5,000 miles on them. New KYB gas shocks all the way around. New serpentine belt, new filters and fluid change. The only cons to the van is a small dent/crease under the driver's side taillight from the previous owner backing into a trailer, and a small crack/hole in the passenger taillight housing, both pictured. And check engine light is on due to an evap code sensor. I never bothered with it as it doesn't hurt the van at all. I'm wondering if it would, however, pass inspection in some states with that. Asking $3,200. Only selling it due to wanting a 4x4 5-speed Ranger. Star, star, star. No trades other than 4 towards a 4x4 5-speed Ranger. Thanks. Lovely description. Very thorough, very well written. Punctuation, paragraphs. Tells you what they want, tells you what they don't want, tells you what it has, tells you what it needs. Just very clear, concise. I love that description. I always appreciate that description. A description like that makes me want to buy a van, even if it's high mileage, just because I have an idea of the maintenance that's been done to it and an idea of just a sense of that it's been cared for. You know, when people point out small things that are wrong with it, I appreciate that. I want transparency. I want to know what I'm getting. I don't mind if things are wrong with it. I just want to know what those things are and what I can expect, you know, from the van as a whole. And I think they've done a wonderful job of describing it. Very cool van, very cool spec. I will say the shame on this one is, and it's nothing against the van, but if this was an electronic all-wheel drive or electronic four-wheel drive Aerostar, then it would just be like, you know, creme de la creme. It would be such a special Aerostar. The fact that it's not, it really doesn't bother it. It's just like, you know, it's like a silver medal other than instead of a gold medal. And boy, if you're an Olympian winning a silver medal, there's still nothing wrong with that. And in some ways, maybe you prefer the rear wheel drive, you know. I do think it's cool that it's rear wheel drive, but it was optioned with the 4.0 engine. I think that's really cool. And then the XLT package, obviously with power windows, locks, mirrors, cruise control. I think that's very cool. Seems like everything's really in tip-top condition. And again, 171,000 miles. It's a lot of miles, but if you're going to buy a 170,000 mile van, this is the one to buy because it seems like the seller has done a great job. I mean, all new KYB gas shocks all the way around. It probably rides great. It probably tows pretty great, especially with the 4.0 in there. So let's take a look around. First thing I'll say is the Ranger wheels are very cool, and a lot of times, you know, Ford Ranger wheels got put on Aerostars. I do think that it works really well, especially with these general grabber tires, which are sort of a beefier tread on there. I love the white over gold. I think the white over gold is such a classy look. This same color scheme was on many a Lexus back in the day. It was just sort of like Ford Explorers. I don't know, this white over gold, even like Chrysler Town and Countries, like it was just like sort of a classic quintessential 90s color scheme. And I think it just works so well. I think this van looks really great from every angle, but especially your profile angles. You know, the two-tone Aerostars are great, and it was a very 80s and sort of 90s thing to have, you know, you say this whole top section was gold, and then you have your middle section and then the bottom section. I think that looks great, but I think just the way the bumpers, you know, this car was designed with almost like a two-tone color scheme in mind because the bumpers have this continuous horizontal line that of course goes all the way down your rocker panels, and it's just this even flat line. So it almost just begs out for a secondary color, especially when your bumpers were not the body color to begin with a lot of times. It still gives you that color break, that variation, that you know, secondary color in there, but it's not as forceful or in your face as like, you know, this sandwich of color in this midsection, which again also looks phenomenal. Nothing against it, but this is just a little bit more sort of like subdued, elegant, and I think it has its own sort of aesthetic that I really like. I really like the white over gold. I think it's just it's so classy. Both profile pictures look wonderful here. Boy, those beefy tires really look great on this Aerostar. I mean, this one is a looker, like no doubt about it. Have obviously your XLT badging. And this spot that they were talking about, this one of the cons of this Aerostar is this dent. Boy, this is, for some reason, on Aerostars, so many of them have this little dent here. My 86 has a little dent in the same exact spot. It's a little maybe further back. But it's such a hard place to get into because there's really no access to it from behind here. You would think there would be with a taillight. And because it's like such like really just thick metal right there, it's really hard to even get like a, you know, a pull bar set to like hammer it out. So good luck. I mean, that's a tough one. But I mean, obviously, if you really wanted to, you could probably get it out eventually. But I appreciate them saying that it's there. And just a bumper. No, I was gonna say just a bummer, but just a bumper, but it's kind of the same thing. That was kind of fun. Just a bumper. Looks like you do have a tiny bit of cracking going on in this bumper. Although sometimes I've seen these on these bumpers, and I can't even tell if it's maybe just in later years they like did it in multiple pieces or something like that, because even though I don't see it on my 93, this line is so, doesn't even look like a crack because it's just like almost too perfect to be one. But either way, again, the bumper looks so good in gold. I don't know, there's just something about this color scheme I really, really like. Obviously you have your beautiful tow hitch here, so it seems like this vehicle is ready to tow, and even that looks really clean, like not a lot of rust on that. Really good looking car. And of course your roof rack here with your sort of like foam pads or something to protect it. I'm not sure if this is a factory roof rack. I would guess that it is. Looks like even a moderate tint on your windows too, and your rain guards. I gotta say, for sort of like an aftermarket part, I think these rain guards look good on like everything. And I think they are really like cheap, easy, cost-effective way to dress up your vehicle a little bit, and I think they work really well. So they kind of fit an Aerostar well, because they are sort of emblematic of what the Aerostar is. I think they work amazingly well for how, you know, inexpensive they are, and I think they make the car look good. And I think with a, you know, already sort of like a little bit of tint here, it just gives it that very subtle sort of aftermarket dress up. Looks like you have a wonderful Appalachian State University plate there. And again, I always appreciate a front and center headshot of the Aerostar. We don't see this enough, but look at that, especially with the white and gold. The Aerostar's face is so charming, and boy, what just perfect design. The way it angles back there, you know, if this were just a little flatter, you could mistake this for like a sports car. And you say I'm crazy saying that, but I think like a lot of the sports cars in the 90s, especially the supercars, they just had these super, you know, simple shapes. And I love how there's all these like, you know, horizontal lines, like the fact that the lights and the grille are all just the singular plane that just wrap right around. It's so simple, but then they add just the right amount of scallops, and like the way your bumper scallops in, just like your grille scallops in. Everything is just really, you know, simple, understated, yet, you know, like has a sneaky amount of like nuance in it. Looks like you have like a shell casing here instead of where your window is. That's your antenna is. That's kind of funny. Nice little touch there. And in gold, it looks good. Okay, your interior. Again, beautiful. I talked about how rare the tan interior was for the updated vehicles. I'm finding that that's probably not true, actually. But I don't know, in that one, it just looks special for whatever reason, in that brown and gold one. But here, a lovely tan interior. And of course, I think on your, you know, white and gold Aerostar, this is sort of a quintessential spec. I want that. I want those gold seats with that red piping. Like, I want that there all day. I love the two-tone seats. Maybe a little bit of staining, not perfect, but overall no rips or tears, in pretty darn good shape, especially for such a high mileage vehicle. That red piping on there just kind of completes that sort of luxury look to it, with your white and gold exterior. Just perfect, just like everything where it needs to be. All the right little flashes and flourishes. Obviously power everything, cruise control, the upgraded engine. Again, rear wheel drive, not four wheel drive, which I can't help but like kind of wish it just had that little extra drivetrain upgrade. However, can't say a bad thing about this Aerostar. Captain's chairs, excuse me, rear captain's chairs, even that was like an upgrade and special. And there is something really cool about having captain's chairs in the back and then a bench in the way back. Now, the downside of that is you can't fold the two benches into beds. However, it's a little bit more comfortable to ride in a captain's chair. You have the sort of individuality of it. They look really cool in the back. And they're also easier to take out one by one instead of the whole bench. So it's a little bit easier to maneuver them too. So a lot of advantages of the captain's chairs. And it's just kind of cool to see, like, you know, yeah, like singular chairs in the back of a minivan. I wonder if you could even do 4 captain's chairs. That would be kind of fun. I wonder if the slots line up for that. So captain's chairs in the back, and then of course your bench. The other cool thing about captain's chairs is, you know, if you want to, you could, here's your obligatory mileage shot, 171,465. Looks like, you know, everything's, you know, pretty normal on there. These do run, I will say though, at least my 93, it runs super cold. Like, the only time this needle will ever even get above, you know, into the normal range is if you're idling for a while and it doesn't have like airflow coming into it, and then it'll start to creep up. When we're driving it, the thing runs so darn cold. Now again, it's a different engine, so in theory that could be different, but in the 3.0 anyways, I can attest. Okay, great interior. I love your gold carpeting with your gold, I don't know, I just have such a thing for seeing these body panels. Like, I love that these modular body panels were made in different colors, whether it's the red interior, or tan interior, gray interior. I just like seeing the variation. I love seeing it in different guises and different color schemes. I just mocked up for fun a 2023 Chevrolet Corvette, and doing the different like interior options, to me, it's just really, really fun. I don't know why, but seeing interiors in different color combinations is just something that I love so much. And all the plastic moldings. Now these were always black, like you didn't really have any choice here. I think even on the red models, the rare red interior, I think this stuff was all still black in here. Even your steering wheel was red, but I think this always stayed black. That was sort of non-negotiable. Another cool thing I'm seeing here is this great, this must have been an option, it must have been maybe on the XLTs, but this center console was so cool. You know, there's a lot of room here. It goes pretty down far, pretty low, and these cup holders were so shallow that, as I was saying in another video, they're not all that useful. But I love the look of this like sort of optional center console there, and I wonder if we can get another shot of it. Yeah, you can kind of see in this photo. So it comes up pretty high, and it's between your armrests. A really cool option, and then maybe that was an XLT thing only that you didn't see on a ton of Aerostars, but I would love to I wonder if you can find a standalone version of this, because they were really, really cool. And when you're in an Aerostar, there's a lot of room there, but if you only have your cup holders, sometimes you just don't know what to do with all that room, and you kind of wish there was, you know, more of a center console. So that thing's like a really cool option. So you have obviously power mirrors here, power windows, your lovely sort of red trimming on here, and your little map holder there. Again, really, like kind of for just like a minivan, like a pretty premium quality interior. Like, yeah, it's not like leather, although they did have leather on some of the Eddie Bauer versions, but it's a really high quality cloth. All the patterns are really cool, and you have all like sort of the doodads and the little extra additional items there, especially with their overhead trip computer that they offered. Okay, here's a shot of the underside. Look at how clean that is. That is like pristine. I mean, that is like immaculate, like not like a even bit or speck of rust on there. As you can see, the wonderful sort of unibody chassis there. Very cool. Okay, these beautiful very nicely dressed General Grabber tires with your Ranger wheels. We have the unfortunate dent there, but again, nothing too crazy. And then you have your little, I believe there is a split somewhere, maybe just a little dent. You know, the fact that they're going out of their way to point out like a tiny hole in the side of the tail light is a good sign. It means they're really addressing, like, obviously you have all your owner's manuals here, really addressing, you know, every little thing that's wrong with this car. And details like that, the fact that you're going to go out of your way to point that out is just such a good sign that you're operating in good faith, and that if there is anything wrong with the vehicle, that it's going to be stated up front, so you can just know that going into your experience. And if you got to take care of it yourself, at least you can expect to deal with that. I do love the sort of Aerostar owner's guide. I love this little globe with these sort of lines that sweep around. All the aesthetics I love. Look at the sales representative, Hap O'Hare. What a great name. Crescent Ford in High Point, North Carolina. Just all that cool historical stuff is so cool to see. Again, another little shot of your center console here. I just love the angle of it, the sweeping waterfall, the way it comes down. You have all these little shelves and drawers, and then it has like a second tier, second level right there. Again, more black and tan. I love a black and tan interior. And of course, you know, pretty nice actually kind of close-up of just how cool these seats were. Like, look at that really cool pattern in there. And then this lovely, lovely pinstripe piping that separates the two patterns and the two colors in there. Again, just one of my favorite sort of factory seats of all time. I think really underrated. And back to the front. I got to go see this profile shot one more time right there. I mean, these two shots really do it for me. I think that's such a good looking van. And really the complete package, you know, with the great interior. Everything is like not perfect, but like nice enough. You know, this is a driver, but a really, really nice one. And for $3,200, like, boy, you know, maybe you can even get it down to $3,000. Again, like, find me a good running car that has this much capability for $3,000. And boy, you know, towing ability. You know, I could say more, but I just think the Aerostar falls in this funny territory where it gets constantly overlooked, and yet for so many reasons it is kind of like the do-anything van, especially with the towing capability that it has, and also the passenger hauling capability. I don't know if it's just something about the light, but like the way the, you know, sort of the evening, sort of like early evening light seems to be hitting this van. It makes the paintwork all look very clean and bright. It looks like, you know, the tires are dressed, so it was sort of recently washed. But something about this Aerostar just is really, really looking special and nice to me. So I wanted to highlight it here on Year of the Aerostar. So there you have it. A 1996 Ford Aerostar XLT extended minivan, listed for $3,200 in Lexington, North Carolina. Boy, if you're looking for an Aerostar and you're looking for one that's, you know, a driver, yeah, it's high mileage, but you know, I can't find it. That was going to be the finale to this like sort of run of Year of the Aerostars. Is that I saw one with 300,000 miles on it, a green one, standard length, nothing special, but it had 300,000 miles on it. I was like, boy, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Not that it's like extremely uncommon, but it's fairly uncommon. 200 is not that uncommon, but 300 is pretty uncommon to see, and I wanted to do that one. But that just, you know, all that is to say that, you know, if you're, depending on it, if you're going to be driving this every day, or if you just want like a secondary vehicle, and even if you are going to be, say you drive at 10,000 miles a year, that means in 5 years you could be up to 220,000 miles, and you're going to have maintenance along the way. But even then, say you get it to 220, you've purchased a car for $3,200 that's potentially going to get you to, you know, 5 years of life at 10,000 miles a year. So it's a guess, it's high mileage, but like that's the thing. It's like if you're going to buy a new car that has no miles on it, like, you're going to pay a lot of money, and maybe that money is better spent, you know, just maintaining this vehicle and putting into other things. And I don't think you should necessarily always be scared off by high mileage vehicles, because you just have to set expectations about what your timeline is anyways. And most people that buy newer cars, they don't keep them for that long anyways. So you might buy a brand new car for $45,000 and keep it for 5 years and trade it in. And yeah, you're going to get more than $3,200 for it, but what are you going to get relative to what you paid for it? What's your depreciation curve going to be? Whereas this, you know, at 220,000 miles, if you maintain it, you can probably still sell it for like $1,500 or $2,000. So you've only lost like, you know, barely anything on the price of the car, plus your maintenance, or just keep it forever. I don't know. I think there's lots of math you can do, but the long and short of it is I don't think you should be scared off of a car with 170,000 miles on it. Because as long as it's maintained, you can get another 100 out of it, you know? So, and as long, you know, it's so rust free, even if you swap the engine on it, you're still going to be in it for such little money relative to what the vehicle is. So, you know, I digress. That's my pitch, but really, really great looking Aerostar. It just has, I don't know, just sits right, you know. So there you have it. Thank you as always for watching here on Year of the Aerostar here on Janky AF. And until next time, Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.